Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos. My name is Tom Cheshire, James Joyce, Cassie. The best thing about this show is, over the years we've been so lucky and met so many wonderful friends through music, hugs and kisses. You know, it's the best, rock and roll. And us being able to bring our guests in. Like when you have your own show, let me tell you, you could do whatever you want. And we could have our own guests. So I'm gonna introduce this person and then I'm gonna pass the mic to James. But she's a wonderful singer, bass player, baker, DJ, fan of music, insane, but also, we just want to make your cheeks red.
They are.
But also, from what I know, I think in 20 years, just an unbelievable human.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
so pleasant, so wonderful to know you.
Very sweet.
I'm just going to say her name is Jen, but throughout the episode, I think she's got like 10 alter egos.
Yeah.
And here's James Joyce.
Yeah, so
Am I
the reason
blushing
behind
still?
this is because, I am old friends with Ben Coleman, and when he was doing Stonehenge on WREK Friday nights for years and years and years,
Yep.
and he was like, I gotta hand this over. There's a new person who's doing it now. It's Javon and Jennifer von Schlichten.
Yeah,
but I
Javon
always
is
say,
my
One of the coolest
Stonehenge
names
name.
ever.
One of the alter
Yeah.
egos.
well,
Javon.
I don't know if it's an alter ego. It's my real name
Yeah.
is Jennifer von Schlichten.
Yeah.
So that's
okay,
yeah.
Javon, what do you want to talk about on this record? And you're like, Danzig too.
Yes,
It's like,
which we are going to let you give.
Okay.
We're going to give you the floor to talk about
I
that.
threw you.
Yes.
it's such a loop, but it was sort of like,
Yeah.
perfect. Yes, we have to talk about Danzig at some point, and
Yes.
at this point in the show.
I think when we get into it, the rest will know why I had to do Danzig.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited now.
Because things are personal to people.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
so I am interested in knowing like what your connection is, what your drive is, because that's always really fascinating.
Yeah.
So you
it's
want
a lot
to
to
hold
get-
up the record and
Yeah, yeah.
show the world
What are we
what
talking
you picked?
about today?
So,
What?
1990 released the second Danzig album, Lucifuge, To Flee with the Light, sort of
Which-
Yeah,
translated
that's-
from Latin.
Yeah.
Typical Danzig, occultism and paganism and anything mystical and evil
And like messed up Christ stuff too.
Oh, for
Like,
sure, yeah.
And blues.
Oh.
I mean, insane.
on
you know.
brand.
That's
fully
a-
on brand for Danzig.
That's it, yeah. And I feel like that's a huge thing about this album versus the self-titled album, versus Sam Hain before, and
Yeah.
definitely versus
Versus
Misfits.
Misfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This album changes. You can hear it, you
Yeah.
can feel it.
Yeah. That's what everyone said too. Like critics, like they
Yeah.
knew what he was capable of on the first record, but they said he swung for the fences but failed.
Yeah.
Or to some people.
Yeah, true,
But this
fair.
one, he was like, they were like everything was just sharper and
Yeah.
just so much bigger.
Sort of
than,
more his vision, maybe.
Well, which is,
Yeah.
but it's so strange to me because originally all of the stuff that came out as Danzig, was initially written for Sam Hain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Rick
And-
Rubin
but Rick
told him,
Rubin-
he's like, you're going to have a bunch of troubles because it won't be one real band. You should put it under your own name.
Wouldn't-
You know?
Right.
Yeah, well, I think part of it was also he liked the idea of if he put it out as Danzig, he could have different musicians
Exactly.
come in and back the bands and change and have more artistic freedom.
I'll never be cool enough to have a band called Cheshire.
So what was your major push for this?
Well,
for this one?
So, okay, when I got the invite to do this, James is right. I have been doing a underground classic rock radio show for
Under the name,
Stonehenge.
yes.
Which has been going on since the 70s.
It has been going on, yeah, since the
It's the
70s.
best.
Since it wasn't classic rock,
Right.
it was just rock that was contemporary. I think I'm on year 7 of the show. My
Wow,
co-host,
congratulations.
thank you. My co-host Chris has been doing it for like 16 years or something,
Wow.
and he did it with Ben.
Yep.
When Ben left, Chris did it alone, maybe for about 6 months, and then it was just. I know we're getting a little off topic, but
No, you can do whatever you want.
It was crazy because I worked with one of Chris's many children at a restaurant. And I used to live in LJ, and I would drive downtown on the weekends to work every weekend. Yeah, and on my drive on Friday nights, I would, around Jasper, I'd start to be able to pick up...
WRK, 100,000 watts.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And I would hear on Friday nights like these awesome songs, like very like classic rock with really grooves, like, and I was like, what?
Stoner, like
Yeah.
slow grooves and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Obscure stuff, too.
I had no idea
Everything
like, what
that
I
Black
was listening
Sabbath
to.
influenced.
Yeah.
And this was, and it was, and they played the.
And it was Stonehenge, yeah. So one night, my coworker in passing mentioned his dad did the show Stonehenge, and I flipped. I was like, oh my God, I love that show.
That is the
So
best.
he told his dad about, oh yeah, I work with this girl, she's a DJ, she's got all these vinyl records, because they would play record vinyl on the show.
Yeah.
And so he was
Very
like, tell her to come in sometime. I don't have a co-host anymore, Ben. So I went in, and then the rest was history. I went to my roots, and the Misfits, Sam Hain, Danzig himself, in all the forms, are my roots. That's kind of like what, when I was in high school, I think maybe late middle school, I first heard Misfits, and it changed me. I loved
Wonderful.
the Misfits. I loved everything about
I love
them.
the Misfits too.
I hadn't heard
we
anything
mentioned them on
quite
the show.
like that, yeah.
The best of everything you love.
Yeah.
Short, fast, poppy,
Yeah.
hooky as
Yep.
hell. Like, what don't you like about that?
I
Horror
loved,
motif, everything.
yeah, I loved the dichotomy between the horror. I always kind of lean towards the more like Evil Live, Earth AD stuff, really heavy. But with his, I mean, beyond the screams and stuff and the woes, like he's a crooner. You know what I mean?
Well, he's
And,
Frank,
like,
he has an
he's
amazing
Frank, he's
voice.
Frank
He does.
Sinatra, and but also he's like he's a messed up like blues guy
He
from
was
the grave.
for sure.
You
He
know?
was
Yeah.
most influenced by vocal styling, and like by like Elvis, Roy Orbison.
He's
like
definitely
Howlin'
he's
Wolf.
definitely
Kind of
taught.
from that
Jim Morrison?
that
Yeah.
cut from
Also-
that cloth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jim Morrison for sure.
But coming into it in a kind of punk or sort
Very
of more
much.
metallic
Yep.
mix side.
Yep. I found myself enjoying more Sam Hain, Danzig stuff, and
Yeah.
and then I got
More
into my early
mature
20s.
stuff of dancing. sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Mature
fully fully realized.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
It is interesting watching like old interviews with him at the younger ages when he's like on Headbangers Ball and stuff. He seems like a little affected the way it's sort of a persona. I don't doubt that it's him, but that's how you are when you're young. You
He's
know what I
kind of
mean? Like,
reprogrammed himself to be Danzig.
Exactly.
At this point, you can't
He's not
separate.
the
Yeah.
happiest guy.
He is.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
actually,
He loves
I was-
cats. He loves cats.
Does he really?
He's got a lot of
He loves
cats.
cats, yeah.
The big cat
I'm
guy.
a big cat. I'm a big cat gal.
Shout out to the cats. Actually,
to the
shout
cats.
out real quick. Man, I'm falling down on my job. Brian Columtuno, Mikey Brennan, Trackside Tavern, Louis Sandoval, PBR at Jameson.
Cheers.
Everyone who's helps us with this. Thank you. Back to the interview.
This whole album to me is like a study in musical dynamics in different genres, crossing different genres. You've got like a band that has now toured together for a previous album. They've like they've gotten used to each other. Like
Yeah.
not only that, you're starting with musicians that are amazing, like
Shout out Chuck
John. Yeah.
Shout out Chuck Biscuits.
Chuck Biscuits.
is
What?
my dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, my
So-
dude too. He's got great hair.
To my knowledge, that at the time, so Rick Rubin is like, he signed Sam Hain
But convinced
in
Danzig
'86,
to
I
do
think.
Dan.
Yeah, oddly the same year that he produced his first metal record,
Right.
Rain and Blood,
Yes.
Slayer.
Yeah.
He signed Sam Hain, but yeah, it was like really in it for Danzig. Danzig's not going anywhere without Erie. So
Right.
Erie Vaughn on bass.
Yeah.
Also, it's the weird thing with the Vaughns, because
Yeah.
then you got
yes.
you got Doyle, Frankenstein.
Yes,
like,
we love Doyle.
A lot of the Vaughns.
That's
are just
funny. Yeah, well, we love that. Because I remember reading that he had said, I think a few years after this, he was like, kind of, if we would have recorded it a year after we did it in that tour, it would have been even a bigger or better record.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were that like,
Yeah.
they were a well-oiled machine, finish each other's
Exactly.
sentences.
Perfect.
Like,
Well-oiled
Sandwiches.
machine.
yeah,
is
sandwiches.
exactly.
Yes, but like.
So yeah, I mean, you can hear it in the album. You've got Erie Vaughn like drummer turned bassist, who is a fantastic bassist, and I love listening to the bass on this album. And then John Christ, who was like classically trained, did like jazz and music theory and composition.
Another like, if you can give yourself a name.
John Christ. You're giving out nicknames.
I mean, man,
a ringer.
Yeah.
I was never cool enough to come up with a good name.
Yeah, and I read actually that he didn't officially get the job until he left like voicemail after voicemail on the answering machine on Danzig's apartment of him just doing guitar solos.
Really?
Yeah, and then he was like, okay, all right, you got it, or whatever. So,
wow.
And then Chuck Biscuit's like,
best.
Oh my God,
The best drummer of Black Flag who's not on really any real
Black
true
Flag.
Black Flag record.
I only saw Chuck
DOA,
Biscuit once
Fear,
play live.
I'm trying to
Social Distortion.
Later
Yes,
on,
I saw him play with
I
Social
first saw him
Distortion.
play.
I saw him play on I think the White Light or Heat or something or whatever.
and then Danzig himself, who I think you could always tell even from the Misfits the vocal range that he had.
He has an amazing vocal range
But,
and a lot
yeah.
of power. He has strong lungs.
Yeah, but the dynamics in this one, like from soft whispers to like just belting.
He stretches out on this
He
album.
does, and I think he really shows it on this one. So, but even the way the album is structurally done, like to me, it reminds me of the way that one would make a mixtape. You know what I mean?
Wow,
Like you
good.
start intentionally, and then you like take the listener through something.
For a ride.
Exactly.
Yeah, like a film, like a
You
film.
open up the album and then you close the album very intentionally, and I love like the whole album just flows.
It's like a dark film,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. As much as every 3 or 4 minutes, make that like concentrate on creating this mood or a memory or a thought, and then go to the next one. And it doesn't matter if they're so drastic. It doesn't even
The
matter.
closest Danzig's gotten to that, because I always think about the Misfits. Whenever I listen to the Misfits records, it's always just this like hodgepodge. It's always just this collection. Of
Well,
just,
they
like,
always had the worst recordings too, so that's like
True.
They bad recordings, and when you're in an early band, that kind of like nascent sound that you have is just like it's kind
You're
of
just putting
endearing
it
in a
all
way
down.
because you're starting and you're like you don't
Yeah.
give a shit what it sounds like.
I think
But
it's
it's like
probably
kind of fully
it's,
realized.
It's
Yes.
probably my
It's
favorite
vision.
record of Danzig's.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, mine for sure too. I mean, I love the self-titled album in its own way, but this one is.
I mean, the first one you have all the hits that like people know,
Yeah.
like Mother and Twist of Cain. It's like almost
Yeah.
like it's Rick Rubin's like vision of making Danzig
But also,
a star.
but also
was
it's
Rick
not. It's
Rubin's,
also,
like, more
but
like-
it's
This
also
album is
not.
like Danzig can be
like I mean,
creative.
Yeah.
I think
I
Rick,
still hear him.
I think Rick Rubin was like, man, I kind of messed up, and he said, I'm gonna give you a second
So,
chance. This
like,
is the second
Sure.
chance.
I'm
for
the
you.
One was actually supposed to be on, well, it was written at the time for Danzig 1, like for the
Once
first
again,
one.
Cassie doing research.
No, but he didn't. It didn't have the right feel.
It
felt better for
They
the second
waited.
one.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
they
don't know a
waited.
lot about the first Danzig record or the ones that came after.
Yeah, this one just I feel like his love
big
for
change.
his love for blues like
It's insane.
Came through.
has always been there for him, but
Yeah.
it's more here in this album.
I would say that the tracks that I like best on this are the ones that you can actually hear the bluesy, the more.
Oh, like
Yeah.
Like
He
how
talks-
I would say,
Killer Wolf,
I would
I'm the
say
One.
yes.
I'm
yeah,
the
it's
One,
actually
yeah.
just basically it's Killer Wolf. Tired of Being Alive has been okay. Not so much the chorus because I think like the chorus part he kind of goes in the direction but. That song has gotten stuck in my head since I've been like, it really has. And I'm like,
I'm not
It's a
surprised because that
catchy song.
song to me is like one of the sing-alongs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of the like this and
Well, I
there.
mean, he is
It's
the
reminiscent.
master. He's the master of like anthemic, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So his
he
songwriting,
has such
yeah.
an amazing. I mean, he does have an amazing, and his songwriting, like, because he wrote. I mean, he did all the songwriting for like Misfits and
Oh
Sam
yeah,
Hain and all
yeah,
this.
no,
so
no,
it's
no.
like,
He is
I don't know,
legit
yeah.
a songwriter.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
well,
It's
I
not
don't
like
know if
he's
get into it, but
yeah.
he wrote songs for his heroes. He wrote Roy Orbison
Oh, yeah.
asked him
He wrote
to.
songs for Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he is a songwriter.
Yeah.
Well, you
for
know,
sure.
like blues, American blues. We've heard this awesome mystique over the years of like you know, so and so sold his soul to the devil. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
to get his 2 years of like maybe a little bit of fame, whatever. And like he went with that, but took it like 20 steps further. You know, and he's like straight up dealing with the devil. You know, and it's awesome.
Well, I
you know.
think also
I mean,
was it Danzig 2 or was it Danzig 1? Like, I mean, he was really dealing with, like, you remember that time when we were like in high school, or like, because this came out like right around the time that I was like graduating high school, or
Yeah.
But it's like, remember that time when it's like there was this war against any type of music that was like controversial or said anything that was like and it's like
he
he
was
dealt
huge
with a
on that.
lot
He was
of
huge
he
on
got
that.
so much flack,
Yeah.
and it's just like.
He doubled down.
Yeah.
No, he
He
did,
doubled
and he
down,
like.
yeah.
I mean,
I think it was every intention for him to write music that was offensive to a lot of people.
But good for him, then.
Yeah, he wanted like, I think that as an adolescent growing up, it's your part of your life to hear things to be opened up to new, and to figure them out for yourself, and not have like parents or government or other people, from what he said, to be like, you cannot listen to this, you know, advisory lyrics, stuff like that.
I mean, what was that? I mean, I remember
well,
when this came out.
New Jersey is. I grew up in Queens. James Joyce, who I'm a huge fan of, I just found out on this show recently, grew up in New Jersey. We grew up an hour away from each other and didn't meet each other until Atlanta, playing in ska bands in the 90s.
How about
but,
that?
Life's funny.
It is.
But New Jersey's a messed up place. New Jersey and Florida are maybe the armpits of
Glenn
the world.
Danzig could only come from New Jersey.
That's what I'm
person,
saying. Like you come out of your mother, you come out of the womb with a chip on your shoulder. You know?
Totally
and
that guy.
so, but then how awesome is to come out with that talent and just do Frank Sinatra meets Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's unreal.
So he studied piano and clarinet when he was younger.
See, Cassie with her research.
Yeah, he didn't bring the clarinet into his.
No, he
Misfits
didn't.
or
But I
anything,
think that's.
He should have.
But something
Would've
that
sounded
I
like a
found
Woody
with
Allen movie.
some like very like inspired people, like whether it's my taste or not. That like a lot of times the parents that kind of either gave their child the freedom or actually like kind of pushed them a little towards like artistic creative things when they were young really are the ones that are, you know, they carry that on like through like adulthood and really start.
He's kind of in a way, Danzig's kind of a guy who sort of just made things that entertained him from his basement, and basically started Plan 9 and just like created stuff that he thought was cool, and everyone kind of got on board, and he was extremely successful at it. I do have a quick Danzig story.
Oh yeah. But I also want to. But before we end, I also want to hear your favorite.
Song-wise, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite because this is an album that I can listen to start to finish over and over.
You have a relationship with the album.
Like to me,
you don't want to pick one song. You want to listen to a movie. Listen to I'm that way with Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. I don't put on Jungle Bourbon. I listen to the whole record.
Yeah.
And when he says "My heart is in my shoes," I know it's the end of that album.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, there's not a single song on here that lacks integrity. Like
Wonderful.
everything has, but just like the way it starts. So it starts with like "Long Way Back from Hell," like dive bomb guitars. Exactly. Just like gets you going on this roller coaster. And then the first three tracks, Snakes of Christ, Killer Wolf, is like 1, 2, 3 punch. Bam,
and also
bam, bam.
really good titles.
Yes.
Really
like that.
Snakes
really
of Christ.
Good song,
but talking about stuff that he cares about, like
Snakes.
Christian. Yeah,
well, it's borderline
the
like
teachings of Christ being like perverted by the organized religion.
Well, that is really true.
And stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. Killer Wolf was like his sort of.
I like that one.
His blues song. Yeah,
it's a great song.
About a
you like the blues because you were that with AC/DC too. You're like, I like these blues, but I get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it blends. I think it lets his voice shine. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like sometimes. Well, we don't have time to go into this.
That's all right. Yeah, so then, you know, and I love the way that they're seamless, like Snakes of Christ, just without a beat, missing a beat, is just right after Long Way.
Yeah.
Punch you.
And then, so you've got Tired of Being Alive, which to me reminds me of like when I was younger listening to Misfits, and they have those songs that everyone's singing along with, you know, every time.
That's really the one that I really like most. almost, yeah.
Yeah, it is catchy. I mean, he writes catchy songs.
I love a song
but...
that, like, you hear for the first time, and by the second chorus, you're singing it.
Oh, for sure.
What?
Yeah.
Like, job done.
Yeah,
Like, that's
job done.
amazing.
That's a talent.
And then you've got "I'm the One," which goes back to the blues. Very, to me, like very like swampy Delta blues kind of feel. It's very like drippy with
It's dirty.
sexual.
It's dirty.
Yeah,
it's very
like
dirty.
I like it a lot. Her Black Wings, I think, is another kind of like sing-along
And
type
that's
for
the one
me.
where they stole
Lots
the
of
guitar
woes.
line from the Black Sabbath 0
Yeah.
0, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know.
No,
if-
they
Yeah.
said that
stole
they
it?
said that
Oh,
they were
okay.
actually listening to it.
Oh, okay,
in the
yeah.
studio.
Wow. Well, listen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Elvis
But it's
Costello
kinda doomy,
has talked
so-
about
Yeah.
that in his,
I'm
in
just
his
saying.
books.
I'm just
You know,
saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so you're always
They
like,
admitted
is it
they
one-
were
copying
laughing
someone
about
is
it.
the best
they're
form
like,
flattery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always
We're
like, is it one of those
32 minutes
scenarios
right
with
now.
like Led Zeppelin where you're like, did you guys borrow that or what?
Is
You
that a
know?
Robert Johnson song?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, we're going long,
And then
but also
A little-
it's our own
let
show.
Her
we
finish.
can,
You
we
have
can
one
do
more thing to
whatever
say
we
about
want.
the album? You have one more
Oh.
thing to say about the album
Well,
before we go to like. And
that
then
was just
James
side
has
one.
To tell his story.
Yeah, that was just side one. But honestly, I know we're cutting out of time, so
No,
I
we
won't
can-
talk too much
we
about
can go a little
side
longer.
two.
I mean, listen,
whatever you
we
want.
just love, to have it in song about it.
So some of my favorite songs, even though I love the really fast-driven stuff, like we talked about Earth AD and all that, but I really love on side two the last three tracks. 777 is really, really good.
That is
super good.
And also the definition behind it, it's like
Yeah.
your answer or your call and response to like, well, if it's not the devil, it's going to be Christ.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in a cult, and I'm still dealing with it
Yeah.
in therapy.
It
you know,
starts
and-
so slowly, but it's hypnotic.
But that blows
and-
me away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then I read interviews specifically about that song, and it just fascinated me.
Yeah.
So
That's a great song. So Blood and Tears, Girl, Pain in the World. The last three tracks, like Blood and Tears is a beautiful ballad. It's gorgeous. Like I feel like I could hear it be sung by any of the other crooners that he loves. Girl and Pain in the World, I've heard other people say that they think they're like weaker links on the album, but those are probably my favorites. And specifically Pain in the World, to me, it's really interesting because to me it sounds like a Led Zeppelin song.
Wow. Okay.
But I don't think that's necessarily because of any influence that Led Zeppelin had on them. I think it's more of an influence that the blues had on Led Zeppelin.
Right. Yeah.
And then blues.
It all comes from.
Yeah, similar things that they are influeed by, giving them a similar sound.
You know what
but,
the cool thing about this and this discussion and this show is I've been listening to this record up until the interview to talk about it with you. And now after hearing you make your points, I'm going to go to the mountains and listen to this another way and hear your points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
Right. I want to hear James's dance.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, I'm always envious whenever I hear that you. This is the one
What
where
is it?
where you
I
met
might
him?
have already talked it, but yeah. So
Yeah.
That was the one thing that was really funny about when you chose Danzig too, because during the Olympics in 1996 in Atlanta.
I think I've heard the story too. Yeah,
I went. My friend and I went to. He was from San Diego. He is from San Diego. I was visiting him. You've met him. Josh
Yeah,
Levin.
I met you in San Diego.
Yeah. So I was visiting him, but we went out there during the Olympics. We wanted to get out of town, and we were just hanging around San Diego for the summer. And Comic Con came up, and we're 20-year-old kids
Yeah.
or whatever. We didn't have any money, but we just the whole crew in San Diego. They all go to Comic Con and sit outside and wait for somebody to bring their badge and be like, "Hey, can we go in?" And so they would just give us the badge.
Oh,
or
someone
we
was
give
done
them,
for the
like,
day, so you
$10.
might, yeah.
Yeah, so we
exactly,
go there
yeah.
late in the day, and so we go in there, and Danzig's got a table. And
I love it.
in
And he's at it?
1996, and he's
Yeah,
at
because
it.
he's a comic.
Huge
I know,
He's a
is
comic.
huge
He's a
but
comic
like
book.
just still,
Yeah.
but he's also like.
But the good stuff.
But he doesn't, at that point in 1996, like his career wasn't really that
Right.
awesome. Like nobody was around, he was by himself.
Yeah.
There was nobody around him,
Yeah.
just hanging out.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
we went up there and we hung out with him
crazy.
for like 30 minutes.
What?
And he was the coolest guy,
That makes me
joking, having fun. I guess maybe I caught him on the right day. He was super nice.
That makes me very happy.
So appreciative that people were hanging out with him.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we took pictures. We're like, okay, let's take pictures.
Right.
So we took pictures, but he had to now he had to put on his sunglasses.
Right.
And then he was super jokey, and then he would like
Right.
totally
Yeah.
get all like in the mode for the pictures
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And
I love
I'll
that.
post a picture of me with Danzig
Please
on
do,
it.
and
I
we'll
love
put it
it.
on this for the show.
We'll put
Yeah.
it on
I
like the
should have
Facebook
brought
page.
it.
We'll put it on.
Yeah,
wanna,
please,
Like,
yeah.
But
Like,
he was super nice, and the funny thing is,
I've seen the picture, yeah.
The whole day we were listening to Danzig too. So like in the car, driving around like
Really?
Encinitas and everything, it was
I didn't know
all
that
like
part of the story.
killer. We're all like yelling
Yeah.
the songs, and
So
it was
good.
like the
San Diego,
soundtrack of
San
that
Diego
time.
is God's country.
Yeah.
and
I've
I've
like,
watched a
so
lot of
super
interviews
fun.
from him. He does seem like I mean, it seems from all the interviews, he does seem like a way cooler person than when you like kind of hear some of the stories about him.
I think
he
it's
just
just
seems like a way.
depending on the
That's
person
the-
and the
and
situation.
depending on the day.
Yeah, that's the thing about him. One of the things I find interesting is that he openly talks about how much he hates people and stuff like that. But when you hear stories like that and you see interviews
When
with
you
him,
see
like,
him
he
in the
doesn't act. You
when
can
you see him in the
see-
supermarket
yeah.
buying
Yeah.
cat food for his cats, you know he's got a huge
That
heart.
you know-
You
That's
know,
like
I
a-
love him more. Like
you gotta. It's an older, more
Yeah.
recent picture, but it's like a huge thing on the internet.
Well,
with his cats.
No, him just shopping for cat litter. Like,
Okay, no, I really
I'll
do need to
send it
see
to
that. I
you.
do.
So Western Motel, we covered Last Caress, wonderful Misfit song.
Sure.
And we were going to put it on our first album, and then we got a note from our lawyer saying he heard it and didn't like it. So now it's on Bandcamp. But it's me and Ben throw it, and it's us crooning with accordion. It's like, I got something to say. And he's like, man, it needs to be this way. But
So
That's awesome.
I want to quickly do
Yes,
a letter
I know.
because I know we're very quickly.
thank you for staying up late with us,
Yeah.
guys. I
Yeah.
think we're going about 12 minutes over. Thanks, Jen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jen.
Thanks,
Thank
Jen.
you, Jen.
You're
for
right.
being
It
a
is
guest.
hard. Thanks for having me.
It is hard
It is
so
hard
fast.
to. Yeah,
Thanks,
you're
Jenzig.
like.
Thanks, Jenzig.
Yeah, we
Danzig.
already did that.
So wait,
one.
who do you got? Was it?
We got a
Paris?
letter.
No.
We got a letter from M. Paris from New York.
Oh.
I think I've heard about it. He sent us some notes.
M. Paris.
A
yeah.
write-in fan.
Good dude.
here?
He's wants to know, and it's kind of ties into to Glenn Danzig that makes songs that make you want to
anthems
to
and
like anthem and
inspiration.
pump your fist and get pumped about stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of thinking about like your training montage for like an 80s like Rocky movie
Fight or
or like
take
the
something
Karate
on,
Kid,
yeah.
like you're about to like go to the big fight or you're training on the beach.
Thank you, M.
With your
Paris.
shirt off running.
Thank you, M.
Us-
Paris,
yeah.
for
What is-
reaching in. I'm going to
A
say for
song that
me,
keeps you motivated.
say for
Yeah.
me, Slade's "Come On, Feel the Noise."
Okay, yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you to Slade.
Yeah.
That song will always and forever probably give me goosebumps and remind me of being a kid in pajamas and just happy times.
Would it be
I
Danzig
feel
for you?
It might
well.
be.
I'll do one. Yeah, because I'm sure that there are a lot of songs
Yeah.
as I think about this that could do that for
And
me.
you'd be driving home and you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
right off the bat, I'm gonna have to give a Danzig related song.
Sure.
I would say the Misfits' "Death Comes Ripping." Those drums
Yeah,
and the guitars.
that's what they opened
I
with
mean,
Yeah.
in Chicago.
Oh, really?
When,
Nice.
Dave
I
Lombardo.
didn't see it,
With
but
Dave
That's a-
Lombardo.
Chad Radford tells
Quite
me
a
that
song
they
to open up
opened
with.
I was at that show.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was great. Yeah.
If not them, like maybe "Fear, Let's Have a War," something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Something very just like
Why you, Cassie?
You're ready to.
I don't know.
For me?
Just what?
I would say
Workout
honestly,
jam, go
I
fight
would
somebody.
Say, I would say our first episode. From our first episode, I would say the Clash's version of "Police on My Back."
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
Police on My
Yeah.
Back really just.
I mean,
it
the equals
just
are
makes
wonderful,
me-
but the
that-
cover is wonderful.
But,
Yeah. That's
the
a
Clash
good one.
version just really just pumps me up. I mean, I remember like it makes me so pumped up that it made the record skip when I was dancing
Yeah.
around
Well, I
my
love
living
that.
room every time I heard it. Like
That's wonderful. I mean, that's what music should do.
I think you touched on something with like glam rock because I think.
And I'm
Glam,
so not
like,
a glam. I'm a
I
new
know,
wave
like,
dude. But
Slade
sometimes
or
Mott
the
the Hoople
Sweet
like
or Mott
gets
the
un-
Hoople or
gets under
something
me.
that
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I was listening to Mott the Hoople at 6
What is
a.m.
it,
Don't ask me what else to do it, but I was having a good time. But
yeah,
you know,
something
it-
makes you pound your fist
Yes, Mott
like
the-
in the
yeah.
air.
So what would you say if you could pick one jam?
It would have to be. I mean, there's some I can think of that maybe aren't very politically correct, but I think I'm going to go with like maybe like a Sweet, like
Oh, yeah.
Solid Gold Brass,
Loves,
or,
yes, that's
or,
Sweet, yeah.
or one of the classic Little Willie.
that's
one
good,
of
yeah.
the original, one of their. I love like glam rock stuff that just has a lot of stomping
You know,
and a lot
I
of
think
fist
I'm.
pumping.
You know, we're all
great.
we're all huge fans of just that's where we're fans of each other and music, and we're nerds and historians. But I love learning every day. Or rediscovering stuff, and like this, thank you for this. But like I've said this in episodes, that I feel like I just discovered T-Rex 4 years ago, and I've heard them my whole life.
Like
and now they destroy me.
I understand that.
T-Rex to me, I was on mushrooms, and I was on tour, and I was like in the desert, and I woke up listening to Cosmic Dancer on repeat, and I didn't never want to come out of the dream. I wasn't calling the wife, I wasn't calling the kids, nobody. Like, I wanted to stay in that dream in the desert.
We'll
for
have to
100
do
years.
a T-Rex episode because I don't even have the time to
We
talk
will.
about like
Man, we want to go on forever. Again, Trackside Tavern, Brian and Mikey, Greg behind the cameras. My name is Tom Cheshire, and we love and love everyone at this table.
and thank you, Jen.
James,
Von,
Cassie,
Jen,
thank you,
Von
Jay
Schlichten.
Von Schlichten is
John-
a real,
Jen Von
she hit another,
Schlichten.
Von Schlicky is yet another nickname.
Von Schlicky was high school.
No, Von Schlicky was given to me by Jamelia Price at
Oh, I
the
love
Earl.
Jamelia. Von Schlicky was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, Von Schlicky was probably 10 years ago.
Oh man, thank you
But
so
Von
much
Schlichten works.
for
Lots of
coming
alter
on.
egos.
Oh, actually,
Thanks so many.
what are we talking? Thank you, Glenn Danzig.
Thank you, Glenn Danzig.
Thank you
you,
for...
Glenn.
By the way, Glenn Anzalone. Thank you, Glenn
Yes.
Anzalone, because I know his
Anzalone,
cousin who lives in New
Italian.
Jersey. I've hung out with him,
Yeah.
and Glenn Danzig used to babysit him.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got some stories.
I'd
He was
love to
very
hear them.
sneaky with the Ritz crackers. Cheers, guys. So much love. Love requires work. Hate requires work. Sorry, too many PBRs. Thank you, PBR. Hate requires work. Love is easy. We love all y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Cheers.